The notification pinged on my phone at exactly 11:47 a.m. on a Tuesday that would change everything. A Facebook tag. My wife Seren's smiling face appeared in a group photo with her 3 closest friends, all holding colorful drinks and wearing matching wife-hunting t-shirts they'd apparently had custom-made. Day 1 of finding Seren Relin a better husband. Follow our girl's journey. The caption made my coffee taste like ash. My name is Hayes Relin, and I'm a 38-year-old IT solutions architect who thought he knew his wife. I spend my days solving complex technical problems for corporate clients, which means I'm naturally methodical, detail-oriented, and unfortunately for Seren, very good at collecting digital evidence. I stared at the phone screen in my downtown office, reading the post 3 times before the full implications sank in. This wasn't a joke. The comments section was already filling up with encouragement from their social circle, complete with heart emojis and suggestions for upgrade criteria. Tara Hutchins, the ringleader of Seren's friend group, had posted a detailed schedule in the comments. 12:30 lunch at Meridian Bistro with Jake from the country club. 2:15 coffee at Grindhouse with that personal trainer from downtown. 4 drinks at Skyline Lounge with the real estate guy. 6:30 dinner at Romano's with mystery bachelor number 4. Each potential date was tagged, photographed, and presented like contestants on a game show. The hashtags told the whole story. Upgrade time, husband hunting, new beginnings, girls trip, support your friends. I screenshot everything. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory from years of digital forensics work. I opened our shared Google Calendar and found the entries Seren had added the night before, labeled innocuously as lunch with friends and errands. The locations matched Tara's public itinerary perfectly. The spare car. Seren had asked to borrow my backup Honda that morning, claiming her SUV was making strange noises. I'd installed a dashboard camera in that car 6 months ago after a hit-and-run incident in our neighborhood. The camera recorded continuously when the engine was running, storing footage on a cloud server I managed. I logged into the system and activated real-time tracking. My office suddenly felt too small, too quiet, except for the humming of servers and the distant sound of traffic 20 floors below. I'd built a career on logical problem-solving, but this felt like someone had handed me a puzzle where all the pieces were sharp edges designed to cut. The first video notification arrived at 12:28 p.m. The dashboard camera had automatically uploaded a clip triggered by the car stopping at Meridian Bistro. Through the windshield, I watched my wife of 8 years step out wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, check her reflection in the car window, and walk toward a man waiting by the restaurant entrance. Jake Morrison. I recognized him from the country club where Seren taught fitness classes. Tall, expensive suit, the kind of confident handshake that suggested he'd never had to troubleshoot a server crash at 3 in the morning or explain to a client why their budget projections were unrealistic. I downloaded the footage and created a new folder on my desktop. Evidence, dating day, October 15th. The methodical part of my brain took over, the same systematic approach I used when diagnosing network failures or security breaches. I opened multiple browser tabs and began documenting everything in real time. Tara's Facebook page provided a minute-by-minute commentary. Photos of Seren and Jake at their table laughing over appetizers. Looking good already. Jake's definitely interested. The timestamp showed 12:45 p.m. Bree Martinez, friend number 2, had started an Instagram story series called Seren's Second Chance. She was apparently following at a distance, taking candid photos and videos that she posted with commentary like a nature documentary narrator. The subject appears relaxed and engaged. Excellent eye contact. This could be promising. Jennifer Walsh, the third member of their trio, was handling the logistics and social media engagement, responding to comments and building excitement for the afternoon dates. Wait until you see who's lined up for drinks. This girl is going to have options. I saved everything. Screenshots, video downloads, cached web pages. My fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced efficiency, creating a comprehensive digital record that would have made my corporate clients proud. At 1:15 p.m., another dashboard camera notification. The car was moving again, heading toward downtown. I watched the GPS tracker trace a route to Grindhouse Coffee, exactly on schedule. My phone buzzed with a text from Seren. Having lunch with the girls today. Might be late getting home. Don't wait up. I typed back, have fun. See you tonight. The second video clip showed Seren meeting her coffee date, a muscular guy in workout gear who looked like he bench-pressed small cars for entertainment. The hug they exchanged lasted longer than necessary, and when they walked into the coffee shop together, his hand rested on the small of her back. More social media updates flooded in. Tara had apparently positioned herself at a nearby table and was providing live commentary. Date number 2 is very hands-on. Seren's definitely enjoying the attention. Look at that smile. The photos showed my wife leaning across a small table, laughing at something the trainer had said. Her body language was open, engaged, flirtatious in a way I hadn't seen directed at me in months. I opened our joint credit card account and began monitoring transactions. The lunch at Meridian Bistro appeared at 1:22 p.m., $87 for 2 people. Jake had apparently paid, but Seren had left the tip on our card. A generous 30% that suggested she was hoping to see him again. By 2:45 p.m., I had established a comprehensive surveillance system that would have impressed the NSA. Dashboard camera providing video evidence, GPS tracking showing exact locations and timing, social media monitoring capturing public documentation, and financial records confirming the schedule. The coffee date ended with another extended hug and what appeared to be an exchange of phone numbers. The dashboard camera caught Seren entering the car with a satisfied smile, checking her makeup in the rearview mirror before driving to location 3. Skyline Lounge occupied the top floor of a downtown hotel, known for expensive cocktails and panoramic city views. The kind of place where drinks cost more than most people's lunch and the atmosphere was designed for intimate conversations. Real estate guy turned out to be David Chen, someone I recognized from Seren's social media connections but had never met in person. Successful, well-dressed, the type who probably closed million-dollar deals over handshake agreements. Tara's documentation became more detailed as the afternoon progressed. Date 3 is going very well. They've been talking for over an hour and he just ordered a second round. Seren keeps touching his arm when she laughs. This could be the one. The photos showed increasingly comfortable body language. Seren and David sitting closer together as the date progressed, her hand resting on his forearm, both of them leaning in during conversation like they were sharing secrets. At 4:47 p.m., my phone rang. Seren's ringtone filled my office, and for a moment I considered letting it go to voicemail. Instead, I answered with the same tone I'd use for any normal Tuesday afternoon. Hey, how's your day going? Oh, it's been wonderful. Her voice carried a breathless excitement I hadn't heard in years. The girls and I are having such a great time. We're at this amazing bar downtown, and you should see the view. Sounds nice. What time do you think you'll be home? Well, we have dinner reservations, so probably not until late. Don't worry about cooking or anything. I'll grab something with the girls. Through the phone, I could hear background conversation and clinking glasses. David's voice was distinguishable, asking if she wanted to share an appetizer at dinner. Have fun, I said. I'll see you when you get home. Love you. The words came out automatically, a habit rather than a sentiment. Love you too. The line went quiet, and I returned to my documentation. The credit card showed another transaction at Skyline Lounge. This time David had paid for drinks, but Seren had handled the valet parking. $18 that would serve as another timestamp in my growing evidence file. Romano's Italian restaurant was the final stop, an upscale establishment known for romantic ambiance and private booths. The mystery fourth bachelor turned out to be someone I definitely recognized. Marcus Thompson, Seren's personal training client, who had become increasingly present in her social media posts over the past few months. This wasn't a blind date arranged by her friends. This was someone she already knew, someone she'd been building a relationship with while I worked late nights and weekend emergency calls. The dashboard camera captured their meeting in the restaurant parking lot. No awkward introduction or polite handshake. Marcus pulled Seren into an embrace that spoke of familiarity, comfort, and a level of intimacy that made my stomach clench. Tara's social media commentary took on a knowing tone. And here's the evening's main event. Some of you might recognize this handsome gentleman from Seren's fitness posts. Let's just say this dinner has been highly anticipated. The photos showed Seren and Marcus at a corner booth, hands intertwined across the table, sharing food with the casual intimacy of a couple who'd done this many times before. In one image, Marcus was feeding Seren a bite of dessert while she laughed. I saved everything and began organizing the evidence into a comprehensive timeline. 12 hours of documentation showing my wife on 4 dates, publicly broadcast by her friends, culminating in what was clearly an ongoing relationship with her personal training client. The credit card transactions told their own story: valet parking, expensive wine, dessert courses that suggested they were in no hurry to end the evening. The final charge appeared at 9:47 p.m., Romano's Italian restaurant, $163 for dinner for 2. At 10:15 p.m., the dashboard camera showed them leaving the restaurant together. Marcus walked Seren to the car, and their goodbye involved a kiss that lasted long enough for the camera to capture multiple angles. I downloaded the final video clip and added it to my evidence folder. 4 dates, documented from start to finish, with social media commentary providing intent and context. The kind of comprehensive documentation that would make any divorce attorney very happy. My phone buzzed with a text from Seren. Heading home now. Had such an amazing day with the girls. Can't wait to tell you all about it. I looked at the timestamp, 10:23 p.m. According to the GPS tracker, she was still in the restaurant parking lot. Drive safe, I replied, looking forward to hearing about it. The tracker showed the car finally moving at 10:31 p.m., taking a route that would bring her home in approximately 25 minutes. I used the time to create backup copies of all evidence files and upload them to a secure cloud server. By the time I heard her key in the front door, I had assembled a complete digital record of her dating day, organized chronologically and cross-referenced with social media posts, financial transactions, and GPS data. Hayes, I'm home. Her voice carried the same excited energy from our phone call. In the office, I called back, closing my laptop and walking out to meet her. She looked radiant. Hair perfectly styled, makeup refreshed, wearing the red dress that apparently had been chosen specifically for impressing other men. She moved with the confident energy of someone who'd spent 12 hours being admired and pursued. How was your day with the girls? I asked, settling onto the couch beside her. Oh my goodness, it was incredible. Tara had this crazy idea about getting me out of my comfort zone, meeting new people, trying new restaurants. We hit all these amazing places downtown. She launched into an enthusiastic recap that bore no resemblance to reality. According to Seren's version, she'd spent the day with her 3 friends, exploring restaurants and bars, enjoying girl time and catching up on gossip. No mention of Jake, David, Marcus, or the 4 individual dates her friends had arranged and documented. No acknowledgement of the husband-hunting theme or the very public search for my replacement. I listened and nodded, asking appropriate questions about the restaurants and her friends' updates. Meanwhile, my mind was already moving to the next phase, consulting my attorney and executing the infidelity clause in our prenuptial agreement. I'm exhausted, she finally said, stretching dramatically. All that socializing really takes it out of you. I'm going to shower and get ready for bed. Good idea. I'll be up in a few minutes. She kissed my cheek, a perfunctory gesture that carried the faint scent of Marcus's cologne, and headed upstairs. I returned to my office and opened the laptop one more time. The evidence folder now contained 47 files: videos, photos, screenshots, financial records, and GPS data. 12 hours of comprehensive documentation showing premeditated infidelity, publicly celebrated, and socially promoted. Tomorrow, I would call my attorney and begin the process of executing our prenuptial agreement. The infidelity clause was very specific about evidence requirements, and I had exceeded every standard. But tonight, I sat in my office and processed the reality that my 8-year marriage had ended with a Facebook notification and a day of surveillance footage. The methodical part of my brain was already planning next steps, but the human part was still catching up to the fact that my wife had spent the day auditioning my replacements while I sat in my office, unknowingly documenting my own betrayal. I closed the laptop and turned off the lights, leaving the evidence safely stored and backed up, ready for tomorrow's phone calls. Wednesday morning arrived with the artificial cheerfulness of a sitcom laugh track. Seren hummed while making coffee, her mood still elevated from yesterday's adventures. She moved around our kitchen with the satisfied energy of someone who'd confirmed that better options existed and were readily available. I sat at the breakfast bar with my own coffee, watching her performance while my phone displayed the overnight social media activity. Tara had posted a recap album titled Mission Accomplished, with highlights from all 4 dates. The post had 63 likes and counting. "You seem happy this morning," I observed, keeping my tone neutral. "I feel great. Yesterday was exactly what I needed. Sometimes you don't realize how much you miss meeting new people until you actually do it." She poured cream into her coffee with a contented smile. "Tara's already planning another girls' day next weekend." "Another restaurant tour?" "Something like that. She has such creative ideas for getting out and experiencing life." I nodded and returned to my phone, scrolling through the comments on Tara's post. Jennifer had tagged several mutual friends with updates. Serene's got some serious decisions to make. All 4 guys have already reached out asking for second dates. Bree had shared individual photos of each date with rating commentary. Jake, sophisticated and established. David, successful and charming. Marcus, familiar and comfortable. The trainer, fun, but maybe too young. My wife was being discussed and evaluated like a consumer product, with her friends serving as enthusiastic sales representatives, promoting her availability to anyone interested in bidding. "I need to head into the office early today," I said, finishing my coffee. "Client emergency that needs immediate attention." "Of course there is." The slight edge in her voice suggested this was a familiar complaint. "Well, I have a full day of training sessions anyway. Probably won't be home until late. Marcus still on your schedule?" The question was casual, but I watched her reaction carefully. A brief pause, a slight color change, the kind of micro-expression that confirmed what the surveillance footage had already documented. "Yes, he has a session this afternoon. Why?" "Just wondering. You've mentioned him a lot lately." "He's a dedicated client, very committed to his fitness goals." I nodded and gathered my things, kissing her goodbye with the same routine affection we'd maintained for months. "Have a good day. I'll call you later." "Love you too." The words felt like dialogue from a play we'd both memorized but no longer believed in. My first stop was the law office of Patricia Williams, the attorney who'd handled our prenuptial agreement 8 years ago. I'd called at 7 a.m. and requested an emergency consultation, explaining that I had time-sensitive evidence of infidelity that needed immediate legal review. Patricia's office occupied the 15th floor of a downtown building, with floor-to-ceiling windows that provided a commanding view of the city. She was a sharp woman in her 50s, who specialized in high-asset divorces and had a reputation for thorough preparation. "Hayes, good to see you again, though I wish it were under better circumstances." She gestured to the chair across from her desk. "You mentioned evidence of infidelity?" I opened my laptop and began walking her through the previous day's documentation. The social media posts, the surveillance footage, the financial transactions, the GPS tracking data. Patricia took notes while I explained the timeline, occasionally asking for clarification or requesting closer examination of specific evidence. "This is remarkably comprehensive," she said, after reviewing everything. "Your wife's friends essentially created a public record of the entire affair, complete with photographic evidence and commentary about intent. The prenuptial agreement has specific language about infidelity, correct?" "Very specific." She pulled our file and opened to the relevant section. "Any evidence of extramarital relationships voids spousal support and significantly limits property division. The standard of proof requires clear documentation of intent and opportunity." She gestured to my laptop screen. "You've exceeded that standard considerably. The social media posts alone demonstrate premeditation and public celebration of infidelity. The surveillance footage provides confirmation of physical meetings and intimate behavior. What's the next step?" "I'll prepare the necessary paperwork today. Given the public nature of the evidence, we can move quickly. How do you want to handle notification?" I thought about Seren's performance that morning, the casual lies and continued deception. I want to call her directly and inform her that I have evidence. Let her know that the prenuptial agreement is being executed. "That's your right, though I usually recommend letting attorneys handle initial communication. This is personal. She chose to make it public, so she deserves to hear directly from me that there are consequences." Patricia nodded. "I'll have the paperwork ready by this afternoon. Once you've spoken with her, we can proceed with formal filing." I spent the rest of the morning at my actual office, handling legitimate client emergencies while monitoring Seren's social media activity. She'd posted a workout selfie with the caption, "Feeling stronger every day." The comments included several from yesterday's dates, with Marcus posting a fire emoji and Jake suggesting they grab lunch soon. At 1:30 p.m., I called Seren's number. "Hey, how's the client emergency going?" "Actually, that's resolved. I'm calling about something else entirely." I kept my voice calm and professional. "I wanted to thank you for the evidence you and your friends provided yesterday." Silence. Then, "What evidence? What are you talking about?" "The dating day, the 4 dates your friends arranged and documented, the social media posts, the photos, the detailed commentary about finding me a replacement." More silence. I could hear background noise from the gym, the sound of weight machines and muffled conversation. "Hayes, I don't know what you think you saw, but—" "I saw everything, Seren. I have surveillance footage from the car you borrowed, GPS tracking data, credit card transactions, and about 50 screenshots of your friend's social media documentation. I know about Jake, David, the trainer, and especially Marcus." "You were spying on me?" "I was collecting evidence of infidelity, which violates our prenuptial agreement. I've already spoken with Patricia Williams this morning." The background noise faded, suggesting she'd moved to a private area. When she spoke again, her voice carried a different tone entirely. "Hayes, listen to me. Yesterday was just a silly game the girls planned. It didn't mean anything. We were just having fun. 4 dates, documented and celebrated publicly, culminating in an intimate dinner with your personal training client, doesn't qualify as a silly game. Nothing happened. We just had dinner and conversation. The surveillance footage shows otherwise. The kiss in the parking lot was particularly clear." Another long silence. Then, "What do you want?" "I want you to understand that our marriage is over and our prenuptial agreement is being executed. The infidelity clause means you forfeit spousal support and receive minimal property division." "You can't be serious." "I'm completely serious. I've spent the last 18 hours documenting your public search for my replacement. Your friends were kind enough to provide detailed evidence of premeditation and intent." "Hayes, please. We can work this out. It was a mistake." "The only mistake was thinking I wouldn't find out about something your friends broadcast to our entire social circle." I could hear her breathing, the sound of someone trying to process a situation that had shifted beyond their control. "When are you coming home?" she asked finally. I'll be there at 6 p.m. We can discuss the details then. Hayes, 6 p.m., Seren. We'll talk then. I ended the call and immediately began the next phase of my plan. The locksmith arrived at my house at 3:15 p.m., an efficient professional who changed all exterior locks within an hour. I provided him with a single set of keys and confirmed that all previous keys would no longer function. While he worked, I packed Seren's belongings into 3 large suitcases, focusing on immediate necessities: clothes, toiletries, personal items. I was methodical, but not vindictive, including everything she'd need for an extended stay elsewhere. At 4:30 p.m., I placed the suitcases on our front porch and activated the security system with new codes. My phone buzzed constantly with text messages from Seren, starting with apologies and escalating to anger and finally settling into panic as she realized I was serious about ending the marriage. Please don't do this. We can fix things. I made a mistake, but it doesn't have to end everything. Hayes, answer your phone. We need to talk about this rationally. You're being completely unreasonable. It was just one day. Fine, be stubborn, but I'm coming home and we're going to discuss this like adults. The final message arrived at 5:47 p.m. I'm pulling into the driveway now. I watched through the front window as she parked and approached the house, noticing the suitcases immediately. She tried her key in the front door, then tried it again when it didn't work. After a few seconds, she began knocking. Hayes, open the door. We need to talk. I opened the door, but left the security chain engaged, creating a gap just wide enough for conversation. Your belongings are on the porch, I said calmly. The locks have been changed. You can't lock me out of my own house. It's not your house. It's my house, purchased before our marriage and protected by our prenuptial agreement. You have no legal claim to this property. She stared at me through the gap, her expression cycling through disbelief, anger, and desperation. Hayes, this is insane. You're ending our marriage over one day? I'm ending our marriage because you publicly auditioned my replacements while lying to me about your activities. Your friends documented the entire process and celebrated it on social media. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You spent 12 hours on 4 different dates, culminating in an intimate evening with someone you've clearly been seeing for months. Your friends treated it like entertainment. Marcus is just a client. Marcus is your boyfriend, and yesterday was your public announcement that you're available for better offers. She pressed against the door, trying to see past me into the house. Let me in so we can discuss this properly. There's nothing to discuss. Our marriage is over. The prenuptial agreement is being executed. You'll receive minimal assets and no spousal support. I'm not going anywhere. This is my home too. Your home is wherever your friends can help you find a place to live. They were enthusiastic about arranging your social life, so I'm sure they'll be equally helpful with housing. I could see her processing the full implications of her situation. No access to the house, limited financial resources, and the public embarrassment of having her husband reject her after she'd publicly shopped for his replacement. Please, she said, her voice smaller now. Can we at least talk about this? I'll end things with Marcus. We can go to counseling. The time for conversation was before you spent a day dating other men while lying to me about your activities. I never lied to you. You told me you were having lunch with the girls. You were actually on a date with Jake Morrison. You said you were exploring restaurants with friends. You were actually being escorted through a series of romantic encounters arranged by your friends to find someone better than me. She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it, apparently recognizing that her cover story had been thoroughly dismantled. Where am I supposed to go? That's not my problem to solve. Your friends created this situation, so they can help you manage the consequences. Hayes, please. I love you. No, you don't. You love the security and stability I provide while you explore other options. Yesterday proved that conclusively. I could see tears starting, but they felt manipulative rather than genuine. The same woman who'd spent yesterday laughing and flirting with 4 different men was now trying to convince me that she wanted to preserve our marriage. The paperwork will be filed tomorrow, I continued. Patricia Williams will handle communication from this point forward. You've already filed for divorce? I've already executed our prenuptial agreement based on documented infidelity. The divorce is just paperwork. She stared at me for a long moment, then picked up one of the suitcases with sharp, angry movements. This isn't over, Hayes. Yes, it is. I closed the door and activated the security system, listening as she loaded her belongings into the car and drove away. My phone immediately began buzzing with calls from her number, but I'd already decided that all future communication would go through attorneys. Instead, I opened my laptop and began composing a detailed email to Patricia Williams, outlining the conversation and confirming that I wanted to proceed with immediate filing. The methodical part of my brain was satisfied with the efficiency of the process. Evidence collected, legal consultation completed, confrontation handled professionally, property secured. The human part was still processing the reality that 8 years of marriage had ended with a phone call and a conversation through a chained door. But as I looked at the social media posts still celebrating my wife's successful day of husband hunting, I felt confident that I'd responded appropriately to a situation she and her friends had created. Tomorrow, the paperwork would make it official. Tonight, I had my house, my evidence, and the satisfaction of knowing that actions have consequences, even when people assume they won't get caught. Thursday morning brought an avalanche of social media chaos that exceeded my expectations for public drama. Seren had apparently spent the night at Tara's house, and together they'd crafted a narrative that painted me as a controlling, paranoid husband who'd overreacted to innocent fun. Tara's Facebook post, published at 6:23 a.m., was a masterpiece of selective truth-telling. Some people can't handle their partners having friends and enjoying life. Seren is staying with us while she deals with an unreasonable situation at home. Please send support and positive thoughts during this difficult time. The comments section was already filling with outrage from people who'd seen the dating day posts just 2 days earlier. The cognitive dissonance was fascinating to watch in real time. Jennifer had contributed her own post. When you try to help a friend build confidence and explore new social connections, and someone completely misinterprets innocent friendship activities, Seren deserves so much better than this controlling behavior. Bree's Instagram story series had been hastily deleted, but screenshots lived forever. Several mutual friends were posting confused comments asking how husband hunting day had transformed into innocent friendship activities overnight. I screenshot everything while drinking my morning coffee, adding to my evidence file with documentation of their attempt to rewrite recent history. My phone rang at 7:15 a.m. Patricia Williams. Hayes, I've been monitoring the social media situation. Your wife's friends are creating additional evidence of bad faith behavior. I noticed. They're trying to gaslight our entire social circle. The attempt to reframe documented infidelity as innocent socializing actually strengthens our position. It demonstrates consciousness of guilt and deliberate deception. What's the timeline for filing? I can submit paperwork this afternoon. Given the public nature of the evidence and their ongoing social media campaign, I recommend moving quickly. Do it. After ending the call, I drove to my office and attempted to focus on legitimate work. My clients needed network solutions and security consultations, not drama about my imploding marriage. But concentration proved difficult when my phone buzzed every few minutes with notifications from the ongoing social media war. At 10:30 a.m., Marcus Thompson posted a gym selfie with the caption, "Some people can't handle when others live their best lives. Keep pushing forward and ignore the negativity." The post felt like a direct response to yesterday's conversation, confirming that Seren had shared details of our confrontation with her boyfriend. I was considering whether to respond when my office phone rang. The caller ID showed my company's main reception number. "Hayes, there's a woman here to see you. Says she's your wife and it's urgent." "Rebecca, our receptionist, sounded uncertain. Send her up. I saved my work and closed personal browser tabs, preparing for whatever performance Seren had planned for my workplace. She arrived 5 minutes later, dressed professionally and carrying herself with determined confidence. The tears and desperation from yesterday's porch conversation had been replaced by strategic composure. "We need to talk," she said, closing my office door behind her. "All communication should go through our attorneys at this point." "Hayes, please, just 5 minutes to explain what really happened." I gestured to the chair across from my desk, curious about what version of events she'd prepared. "Yesterday wasn't what you think it was," she began. "Tara organized it as a confidence-building exercise. I've been feeling isolated and depressed, and she thought meeting new people would help me feel better about myself." Meeting new people or dating new people? It wasn't dating. They were just social interactions. Lunch, coffee, conversation. Nothing romantic happened. I opened my laptop and turned the screen toward her, displaying the surveillance footage of her goodbye kiss with Marcus. This is nothing romantic? She watched herself kissing another man, her expression shifting as she realized how clear the video evidence was. Marcus it's complicated. It's not complicated. He's your boyfriend, and yesterday was your public announcement that you're available for upgrades. That's not true. Your friends documented the entire day as a husband-hunting expedition. They posted schedules, commentary, and ratings of your dates. They celebrated finding you better options than me. She stared at the laptop screen, apparently recognizing that her cover story had fundamental flaws. Even if that's how it looked, nothing physical happened with the other 3 men. Marcus and we have a connection, but we haven't crossed any lines. You crossed lines the moment you went on 4 dates while married to me. The kiss with Marcus just provided clear evidence of infidelity. Hayes, I want to save our marriage. I'll end things with Marcus. We can go to counseling and work through this. Our marriage ended when you decided to publicly audition my replacements. The counseling conversation should have happened before you spent a day with other men. She leaned forward, switching to a more intimate tone. I made a mistake, but 8 years should count for something. We can fix this if we both commit to trying. 8 years counted for something until you decided they didn't. Your friends posted photos of you laughing and flirting with 4 different men while I worked late to support our lifestyle. I never asked you to work late all the time. You never complained about the income it provided or the lifestyle it supported. You just decided to explore other options while keeping me as a backup plan. She was quiet for a moment, apparently recognizing that her negotiating position was weak. What do you want from me? She asked finally. I want you to sign the divorce papers when they're served and accept the terms of our prenuptial agreement without contest. And if I refuse? Then we'll have a public trial where all of yesterday's evidence gets presented in court and entered into public record. Your dating day will become part of legal documentation that anyone can access. She considered this, apparently weighing the embarrassment of a quick settlement against the humiliation of a public trial. I need time to think about this. You have as much time as you want, but the outcome won't change. Our marriage is over. The only question is whether you want the divorce to be private or public. She stood up, her professional composure cracking slightly. You're really going to throw away 8 years over one day? You threw away 8 years when you decided to spend that one day shopping for my replacement. After she left, I returned to work with improved focus. The conversation had confirmed that she understood her position and was beginning to accept the inevitable outcome. At 2:45 p.m., Patricia called with an update. Paperwork is filed. Seren will be served tomorrow morning. I've also prepared a cease and desist letter for her friends regarding their social media campaign. Is that necessary? Their attempt to reframe documented infidelity as innocent socializing could be considered defamation. The letter will encourage them to stop posting about you or the divorce proceedings. Send it. The rest of Thursday passed quietly, But Friday morning brought renewed social media drama. Tara had posted a long, emotional essay about toxic masculinity and controlling relationships, clearly directed at me despite not mentioning my name. When someone isolates their partner from friends and punishes them for having social connections, that's abuse. When someone monitors their partner's activities and invades their privacy, that's abuse. When someone threatens legal action to control their partner's behavior, that's abuse. The post was shared dozens of times within hours, generating supportive comments from people who apparently hadn't seen the original dating day documentation. My phone buzzed with a text from Omar Rodriguez, my closest friend and former police detective who now worked as a private investigator. Saw the social media drama? Want to grab lunch and talk? We met at a downtown diner where Omar listened to the entire story while reviewing evidence on my phone. "This is incredibly well documented," he said finally. "Your wife's friends essentially created a prosecution case file for you. Patricia says we have overwhelming evidence for the prenuptial agreement." You do, but I'm more concerned about the social media retaliation campaign. Tara's post this morning is borderline defamatory. Patricia sent a cease and desist letter. Good, but these people seem committed to controlling the narrative. You might want to consider getting ahead of this before they do more damage to your reputation. What do you suggest? Document everything they're posting, but also consider telling your side of the story. Right now, they're framing you as an abusive controller. The evidence shows you're actually the victim of a very public betrayal. I spent Friday afternoon considering Omar's advice while monitoring the ongoing social media campaign. Tara, Jennifer, and Bree were working systematically to rewrite history, portraying Seren as a victim of controlling behavior rather than someone who'd been caught publicly cheating. The cognitive dissonance was remarkable. People who'd liked and commented on the dating day posts were now expressing outrage about my unreasonable response to what they were calling innocent socializing. At 4:30 p.m., I made a decision. I opened Facebook and crafted a single post with careful, factual language. Recent social media posts have mischaracterized the end of my marriage. For the record, I filed for divorce after discovering that my wife spent last Tuesday on 4 dates arranged by her friends, documented on social media as a husband-hunting expedition. I have surveillance footage, financial records, and screenshots of all social media posts celebrating her search for my replacement. Our prenuptial agreement includes an infidelity clause that was triggered by this documented evidence. I wish Seren well in her future relationships, but our marriage ended when she decided to publicly audition for my replacement. I attached 3 screenshots: Tara's original wife-hunting post, the detailed schedule with date locations and times, and Bree's mission-accomplished photo album. Within 30 minutes, the post had 50 comments and 20 shares. The evidence was clear enough that even people who'd initially supported Seren's narrative were reconsidering their positions. Tara responded within an hour with a furious post calling me vindictive and claiming I'd violated Seren's privacy by sharing private social media posts that she'd published publicly and tagged dozens of people in. But the damage to their revisionist narrative was done. Too many people had seen the original posts to accept the innocent socializing explanation. My phone rang at 6:15 p.m., Seren's number. "How could you post those screenshots? You're humiliating me." "I'm correcting the record. Your friend spent 2 days claiming I was abusive and controlling for responding to documented infidelity. Those posts were private. Those posts were public, tagged dozens of people, and designed to celebrate your search for my replacement. Nothing about them was private. Hayes, please delete that post. We can work this out without involving everyone we know." "We could have worked it out without involving everyone we know if you hadn't decided to make your infidelity a public social media event. I'll do anything to fix this, please. Sign the divorce papers when you're served. Accept the prenuptial agreement terms. Move on with Marcus or whoever else you choose." "I don't want a divorce." You wanted a divorce when you spent Tuesday looking for someone better than me. You just didn't expect there to be consequences. I ended the call and turned off my phone, tired of conversations that repeated the same circular arguments. The weekend passed quietly. Seren's social media accounts went silent, and her friends' posts became less frequent and more defensive. The narrative had shifted from controlling husband to messy divorce with evidence on both sides. Monday morning brought a call from Patricia with the news I'd been expecting. Seren's attorney called. She's willing to accept the prenuptial agreement terms and proceed with an uncontested divorce. How long will the process take? With her cooperation, we can finalize everything within 60 days. Perfect. I hung up and returned to work, focusing on client projects and network solutions. The drama was essentially over. Only paperwork remained. But as I reviewed the past week's events, I felt satisfied that I'd handled the situation appropriately. Seren and her friends had created a public spectacle, documented their own bad behavior, and then tried to rewrite history when consequences appeared. The evidence had spoken for itself, and justice had been served through legal channels rather than emotional retaliation. Sometimes the best revenge is simply allowing people to experience the natural consequences of their documented choices. The 60-day waiting period that followed felt like living in a strange parallel universe, where my old life continued on autopilot, while a new reality slowly took shape. Seren had moved in with Marcus, a development that surprised no one who'd seen the surveillance footage. Her social media presence became sporadic and carefully curated, focusing on fitness motivation and inspirational quotes about new beginnings. Tara, Jennifer, and Bree had largely retreated from public commentary about my marriage, though they occasionally posted subtle digs about people who can't forgive mistakes and toxic masculinity in relationships. The cease and desist letter had been effective in stopping direct attacks, but passive-aggressive commentary continued. I focused on work, completed several major client projects, and began planning what my life would look like as a single man with significantly simplified finances and no obligations to someone else's social calendar. The divorce paperwork progressed smoothly until the final week, when Seren's attorney requested a meeting to discuss additional considerations that had emerged during the settlement review. Patricia called me on a Wednesday morning with details. Seren is claiming that some of the marital assets should be reconsidered based on her contributions to your career advancement. What contributions? She's arguing that her social connections and networking helped you acquire several major clients, and therefore she's entitled to a percentage of the income from those accounts. I laughed, which probably wasn't the most professional response to legal strategy. Which clients is she claiming credit for? Morrison Holdings, Chen Development Group, and Thompson Fitness Solutions. The irony was remarkable. She was claiming partial credit for income from companies owned by Jake Morrison, David Chen, and Marcus Thompson, 3 of the 4 men she dated during her husband hunting expedition. Patricia, those are 3 of the 4 men she went on dates with. She's literally trying to claim financial benefit from her infidelity. I realize that when I cross-reference the names with your evidence file, it's an unusual legal strategy. How do we respond? We point out that using relationships with men she was dating to claim marital assets creates an interesting conflict of interest. Her attorney may not have realized the connection. The meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon at Patricia's office. Seren arrived with her attorney, a middle-aged man named Robert Chen, who specialized in family law and had apparently not done thorough research on his client's situation. My client contributed significantly to Mr. Rellen's career success through networking and relationship building, he began. Several major accounts were acquired through her social connections, and she deserves compensation for that contribution. Patricia opened her laptop and displayed the evidence file I'd assembled. Let's review those social connections in detail. She pulled up the dating day documentation, showing the schedule of dates with commentary from Seren's friends. Morrison Holdings was acquired through Jake Morrison, who your client had lunch with on October 15th as part of what her friends called a husband hunting expedition. According to social media posts, he was evaluated as sophisticated and established, and there was definitely interest from both parties. Robert Chen's expression shifted as he realized where this was going. Chen Development Group was acquired through David Chen, who your client met for drinks on the same day. According to documentation, this date went very well and could be the one based on their extended conversation and physical contact. She clicked to the next set of screenshots. Thompson Fitness Solutions was acquired through Marcus Thompson, who your client had dinner with that evening, and subsequently moved in with after our client filed for divorce. Your client is claiming financial benefit from relationships with men she was dating while married to my client. She's essentially arguing that her infidelity should be financially rewarded because it generated business connections. Robert Chen looked at his notes, then at Seren, then back at the evidence displayed on Patricia's laptop. I wasn't aware of the specific circumstances surrounding these business relationships. The circumstances are thoroughly documented, Patricia continued. Your client and her friends created a comprehensive record of her dating activities, including detailed commentary about her interactions with these specific men. She pulled up the surveillance footage showing Seren's goodbye kiss with Marcus in the restaurant parking lot. This is the client relationship that resulted in Thompson Fitness Solutions becoming an account. Seren spoke for the first time since arriving. Those business relationships existed before the dates. Hayes had already been working with those companies. Actually, that's not accurate, I interjected. Morrison Holdings signed a contract 3 days after your lunch date with Jake. Chen Development became a client the week after your drinks date with David. Thompson Fitness hired me for network solutions 2 weeks after your dinner with Marcus. I opened my own laptop and displayed client acquisition dates cross-referenced with the dating day timeline. All 3 contracts were signed after you'd established personal relationships with the company owners. So your client is correct that her social connections helped acquire these accounts, Robert Chen said, apparently trying to salvage his argument. That supports our claim for additional compensation. Her social connections were romantic relationships pursued while she was married to my client, Patricia responded. She's arguing that her infidelity should be financially rewarded because it generated business income. Furthermore, I added, claiming financial benefit from these relationships creates a conflict of interest. If Seren has a financial stake in my contracts with companies owned by men she was dating, that creates ethical issues for all parties involved. Robert Chen was quiet for several minutes, reviewing his notes and apparently reconsidering his strategy. Perhaps we could discuss alternative arrangements for the disputed assets. There are no disputed assets, Patricia said firmly. The prenuptial agreement is clear about property division in cases of documented infidelity. Your client forfeited claims to additional compensation when she chose to pursue relationships with other men. The fact that those relationships happened to generate business income doesn't create new claims. It actually demonstrates that the infidelity was more extensive and calculated than initially documented. Seren looked increasingly uncomfortable as the implications became clear. Her attempt to claim financial benefit from her dating activities had backfired spectacularly, providing additional evidence of the calculated nature of her infidelity. I'd like to request a brief recess to consult with my client, Robert Chen said. Patricia and I waited in her office while they discussed options in the conference room. Through the glass walls, we could see an animated conversation that suggested Seren was learning about several legal concepts she hadn't previously considered. They returned 20 minutes later with a significantly different demeanor. My client is prepared to accept the original prenuptial agreement terms without additional claims, Robert Chen announced. Excellent, Patricia replied. We can finalize the paperwork today. The signing process took less than an hour. Seren signed document after document with mechanical efficiency. her earlier confidence replaced by resigned acceptance of the financial reality. When the final signature was complete, she looked at me directly for the first time since the meeting began. "I hope you're satisfied with how this turned out." "I'm satisfied that our prenuptial agreement was enforced as written. You made choices, and there were consequences." "Hayes, I want you to know that I did love you. The whole situation just got out of hand. You loved the security I provided while you explored other options. That's not the same thing as loving me." She gathered her things and left with her attorney, and I found myself officially divorced for the first time in 8 years. Patricia handed me copies of all final documents. "Congratulations. You're now legally single with full control of your assets. Thank you for handling this efficiently. Thank you for providing the most comprehensive evidence file I've seen in 20 years of family law practice. Your wife's friends essentially documented the entire case for us." I drove home to a house that was now entirely mine, with no shared calendars, joint accounts, or obligations to anyone else's social activities. The silence felt different than loneliness. It felt like freedom. My phone buzzed with a text from Omar. "How did the final meeting go?" "Officially divorced as of 2 hours ago. Seren tried to claim financial benefit from her dating activities. It didn't go well for her." "Dinner tonight to celebrate?" "Absolutely." We met at a steakhouse downtown, the kind of place Seren had always considered too expensive for casual dining. Omar raised his glass in a toast. "To documented evidence and prenuptial agreements. To friends who provide good advice and legal strategies that actually work." "What's next for you?" "I'm thinking about expanding my consulting business. Maybe taking on some bigger clients now that I don't have to worry about joint finances or someone else's spending habits." "Any of those clients happen to be companies owned by your ex-wife's dating partners?" I grinned. "Actually, all 3 contracts are performing very well. Jake Morrison referred 2 additional clients last week. David Chen wants to expand his account for a major development project, and Marcus Thompson is planning to franchise his gym concept, which could mean a significant network infrastructure contract." "So, Seren's husband hunting expedition is actually generating long-term income for you?" The irony is remarkable. She tried to claim financial benefit from those relationships in the divorce settlement, but they're actually more valuable to me as ongoing business connections. "Are you planning to maintain those professional relationships?" "Absolutely. Business is business, and personal drama shouldn't interfere with profitable client accounts." Omar laughed. "Your ex-wife's dating day turned into your business development strategy." Sometimes the best revenge is simply professional success, built on the connections your ex-wife thought would replace you. We finished dinner and parted ways, and I drove home to my quiet house with a clear sense of satisfaction. The past 3 months had been chaotic, but the outcome exceeded my expectations. Seren was living with Marcus, apparently happy with her upgrade. Her friends had learned that public social media campaigns could backfire when the evidence contradicted their narrative. And I was financially secure, professionally successful, and free from the exhausting drama of a relationship that had been deteriorating for months. The methodical approach had worked. Document everything, follow legal procedures, and let people experience the natural consequences of their documented choices. As I settled into my office to review client projects, I reflected on the fact that my marriage had ended with a Facebook notification, but my new life had begun with comprehensive evidence files and a well-executed legal strategy. Sometimes the best stories are the ones where the underestimated person quietly collects evidence, follows proper procedures, and achieves justice through patience and preparation rather than emotional retaliation. The divorce was final, the assets were secured, and the future looked remarkably bright for someone who'd been publicly humiliated just 3 months earlier. Justice served, lesson learned, and life moving forward with improved clarity about what really mattered. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, my life had settled into a routine that felt both familiar and entirely new. The house was quieter but more peaceful. My work schedule was more flexible without having to accommodate someone else's social calendar, and my bank account was significantly healthier without joint expenses and Seren's enthusiastic spending habits. The business expansion I'd planned was exceeding expectations. Jake Morrison had indeed referred several major clients, David Chen's development projects were generating steady income, and Marcus Thompson's gym franchise concept had turned into a six-figure contract for network infrastructure across 12 locations. The irony wasn't lost on me that Seren's dating day had inadvertently created the most profitable business connections of my career. I was reviewing quarterly financial reports on a Tuesday morning when my phone rang. Omar's name appeared on the caller ID. "Hayes, you need to see something. Can you meet me for coffee in an hour?" "What's going on?" "Just meet me at Grindhouse. You'll want to hear this in person." Grindhouse Coffee was the same location where Seren had met her second date 6 months earlier. I'd avoided the place since then, but Omar's tone suggested this wasn't a casual social meeting. I found him at a corner table with his laptop open and a serious expression that indicated he'd discovered something significant. "What did you find?" I asked, settling into the chair across from him. "I've been monitoring social media activity related to your ex-wife and her friends, just keeping an eye on things professionally." Omar had maintained his investigative habits even after leaving police work. "Something interesting has developed." He turned his laptop screen toward me, displaying a series of Facebook posts from the past week. Tara's status update from 3 days earlier read, "When you realize that some people aren't who they pretended to be, trust your instincts and protect yourself from users and manipulators." Jennifer had posted, "Friendship means supporting each other through difficult times, not abandoning people when they need you most. Some people only care about what you can do for them." Bree's contribution was more direct. "Seren Relin is not the person we thought she was. Be careful who you trust with your secrets and your loyalty." "They're turning on each other?" I asked. "It gets better. Keep reading." Omar scrolled down to show a lengthy post from Jennifer, published the previous evening. "I need to clear the air about something that's been bothering me for months. The dating day we organized for Seren wasn't actually our idea. She planned the whole thing and asked us to help her document it. She told us her marriage was already over and she needed evidence of moving on for her divorce proceedings. We thought we were helping a friend transition out of an unhappy relationship. We had no idea she was still living with Hayes and lying to him about everything. When the truth came out and Hayes filed for divorce, Seren asked us to help her rewrite the story to make her look like a victim instead of someone who got caught cheating. I'm tired of being part of her lies and manipulation. Hayes, if you're reading this, I'm sorry we got involved in something that hurt you. Seren used all of us." I read the post twice, processing the implications. She's claiming the entire dating day was Seren's idea? There's more. Tara posted a response 2 hours later. The next post was from Tara, clearly angry and defensive. "Jennifer is trying to rewrite history to save her own reputation. Yes, Seren asked for help meeting new people, but we decided to make it a public social media event. We created the schedule and commentary. We turned it into the husband hunting theme. Don't let Jennifer pretend she was an innocent victim in this situation. We all made choices, and we all need to own them." So they're fighting about who's responsible for the public documentation? It gets even better. Bree posted this morning. Bree's post was the most detailed. "Since everyone is sharing their version of events, here's what actually happened. Seren had been complaining about her marriage for months and asking us to help her meet new men. She specifically asked us to document everything so she could show Hayes that she had other options and force him to either step up or let her go. She wanted the social media posts to make him jealous and competitive. The plan was to use the attention from other men to make Hayes fight for her. When that backfired, and he filed for divorce instead, she panicked and asked us to help her play victim. Tara and Jennifer went along with it because they were afraid of losing their friend." I'm done being part of this drama. Seren manipulated all of us, including Hayes. Omar closed the laptop and leaned back in his chair. Your ex-wife's friends are providing a completely different narrative about the dating day. According to them, it was psychological manipulation designed to make you jealous, not genuine husband hunting. Does it matter at this point? The divorce is final and the evidence was clear regardless of her motivations. It matters because they're contradicting the story she told during divorce proceedings. If she lied about her intentions to manipulate the settlement, that could have legal implications. I considered this while finishing my coffee. What kind of legal implications? Fraud, potentially. If she misrepresented her actions during divorce proceedings to gain advantage in the settlement, that could void the agreement. She didn't gain any advantage. The prenuptial agreement was enforced as written. But she tried to claim financial benefit from business relationships with the men she dated. If those relationships were part of a calculated manipulation strategy rather than genuine romantic interests, that changes the legal context. Omar had a point. Seren's attempt to claim compensation for networking connections took on a different character if the entire dating day had been planned psychological manipulation rather than spontaneous infidelity. What do you recommend? Document everything her friends are posting. If this situation develops further, you'll want evidence of their revised statements about her motivations and planning. I spent the rest of the week monitoring the social media drama as Serene's friendships imploded in spectacular fashion. The three women who had orchestrated her dating day were now competing to distance themselves from responsibility while revealing increasingly detailed information about her planning and motivations. Seren herself remained silent on social media, but according to her friends' posts, she was furious about their public revelations and had threatened legal action to stop them from sharing private conversations. On Friday, Patricia Williams called with an unexpected update. Hayes, I've been contacted by an attorney representing Jennifer Walsh. She wants to provide additional information about your ex-wife's dating day activities. What kind of additional information? She claims to have text messages and emails proving that Seren planned the entire event as psychological manipulation designed to force you into competing for her attention. She says the goal was never to find a replacement husband, but to make you jealous enough to become more attentive and romantic. Why is she coming forward now? Apparently your ex-wife is threatening to sue her friends for defamation over their recent social media posts. Jennifer wants to provide evidence that her statements are truthful. Do we need this information? Not for the divorce, which is already final, but if Seren follows through on her threats against her former friends, this could become relevant to those proceedings. Should I meet with Jennifer? I recommend it. Additional documentation of your ex-wife's planning and motivations could be useful if she decides to cause more legal trouble. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday at Patricia's office. Jennifer arrived, looking nervous but determined, carrying a folder of printed emails and text message screenshots. I want to start by apologizing, she said immediately. We should never have gotten involved in Seren's plan, and we definitely should have told you the truth when everything fell apart. What was the truth? I asked. Seren had been planning something like this for months. She was convinced that you took her for granted and needed a wake-up call to appreciate what you had. Jennifer opened her folder and pulled out several printed text conversations. This is from 2 weeks before the dating day. Seren texted me. Hayes has gotten too comfortable in our marriage. He works all the time and barely pays attention to me anymore. I need to show him that other men find me attractive and interesting. She handed me the printed conversation. The messages were clearly from Seren's phone number, discussing strategies for making me jealous and competitive. She researched the psychology of relationship competition, Jennifer continued. She read articles about using social proof to increase your partner's investment in the relationship. The dating day was supposed to be a controlled demonstration that other men wanted her. What was supposed to happen after the dates? You were supposed to see the social media posts and realize that you needed to fight for her. She expected you to show up at one of the restaurants and make a scene, or at least call her crying and begging her to come home. Jennifer pulled out another set of messages. This is from the night of the dating day, after you called and thanked her for the evidence. She texted us in a panic. This isn't how it was supposed to go. He's supposed to be fighting for me, not filing for divorce. The messages showed Seren's genuine surprise that her manipulation strategy had backfired completely. She really thought I would compete for her attention instead of ending the marriage. She was convinced that you loved her too much to actually leave. She thought the threat of losing her would make you become the romantic, attentive husband she wanted. Instead, I collected evidence and executed our prenuptial agreement. She completely underestimated your self-respect, Jennifer said, and she overestimated how much you'd tolerate being manipulated. Patricia reviewed the text messages and emails while Jennifer explained the timeline of planning and execution. The documentation painted a picture of calculated psychological manipulation that was arguably worse than simple infidelity. This is very helpful, Patricia said finally. It demonstrates that your ex-wife's actions were premeditated manipulation rather than spontaneous poor judgment. Does this change anything about the divorce settlement? The divorce is final, but this information could be relevant if she pursues legal action against her former friends or if she attempts to challenge the settlement in the future. After Jennifer left, I sat in Patricia's office processing the new information. Learning that Seren had planned the entire dating day as psychological manipulation was somehow more disturbing than discovering she was simply cheating. How do you feel about these revelations? Patricia asked. Relieved, actually. It confirms that ending the marriage was the right decision. If she was willing to orchestrate public humiliation to manipulate my emotions, what else would she have been capable of? The methodical planning also validates your methodical response. You treated her actions as evidence of character rather than a temporary mistake. Because it wasn't a temporary mistake. It was a calculated strategy that revealed who she really was. I drove home with a clear sense of closure that had been missing since the divorce was finalized. The new information didn't change the legal outcome, but it provided psychological resolution about Seren's motivations and character. That evening, I received a text from an unknown number. This is Seren. We need to talk about what Jennifer told you. She's lying about the planning to save herself from the lawsuit. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow? I forwarded the message to Patricia and Omar, then responded, all communication should go through our attorneys. Hayes, please, just one conversation to clear the air. Jennifer is trying to destroy my reputation with lies. Your reputation was destroyed by your own documented actions, not by anything Jennifer said. The dating day wasn't what it looked like. I can explain everything if you'll just listen. I've heard enough explanations. Move on with your life. I blocked the number and returned to my evening routine, confident that I'd handled the situation appropriately. The next morning brought news that Seren had indeed filed defamation lawsuits against all three of her former friends, claiming their social media posts had damaged her reputation and caused emotional distress. Omar called with updates as the story developed. Jennifer's attorney is using the text messages as evidence that her statements were truthful. Tara and Bree are countersuing, claiming Seren manipulated them into participating in fraud. How is this my problem? It's not your problem, but you might be called as a witness since you have the original evidence of the dating day activities. I'll cooperate with whatever legal proceedings require, but I'm not getting involved in their drama voluntarily. Smart approach. Let them sort out their own mess. The lawsuits continued for several months, generating occasional local news coverage about social media manipulation and friendship betrayals. I provided testimony when required, but otherwise focused on my business and personal life. The final outcome was predictable. All parties settled out of court with non-disclosure agreements that prevented further public discussion of the dating day or its aftermath. Seren and Marcus broke up sometime during the legal proceedings, though I only learned about it through social media updates from mutual acquaintances. She moved to a different city and largely disappeared from local social circles. A year after the divorce, I was reviewing client contracts when I noticed something interesting. Morrison Holdings, Chen Development, and Thompson Fitness had all increased their accounts significantly, generating nearly double the income I'd projected. Jake Morrison had become not just a client, but a genuine business mentor, introducing me to investment opportunities and professional networks I'd never accessed before. David Chen had offered me a partnership stake in a major development project that could provide passive income for years. Marcus Thompson's gym franchise had expanded beyond our original contract, and he'd recommended my services to other fitness industry entrepreneurs. The three men Seren had dated as part of her manipulation strategy had become the foundation of my most successful business relationships. When Omar and I met for our annual divorce anniversary dinner, he raised his glass in a toast to the most profitable psychological manipulation in business history, to documenting evidence and letting people experience the consequences of their choices. Any regrets about how everything played out? None whatsoever. Seren revealed who she really was, I responded appropriately, and life improved dramatically as a result. What's next for you? I'm considering a vacation, maybe somewhere tropical where I can work remotely and enjoy the profits from my ex-wife's dating strategy. We laughed about the absurdity of the situation, but the underlying truth was satisfying. Methodical documentation and professional responses had turned a personal betrayal into business success and personal freedom. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well, especially when your success is built on the very relationships your ex-spouse thought would replace you. The story had ended exactly as it should, with justice served, lessons learned, and a future that looked significantly brighter than the past.